Testing. Testing. One, two, three. Testing. How's mine? Testing. One, two, three. Testing. One, two. Mic check. One, two, three. Mic check. One, two. One, two, three. Mic check. One, two. One, two, three. Mic check. One, two. One, two. Mic check. One, two. One, two, three. Mic check. One, two, three. Mic check. One, two. Mic check. Check in mic. One, two. Check in mic. One, two, three. Mic check. One, two. One, two, three. Mic check. Mic check. One. Mic check. One, two. Mic check. One, two, three.
which can hold its head high and be accepted anywhere in the world, and which any other nation will be glad to welcome as a friend.
Take national pride, I respect every stride. We come from far and wide. This is our chance to turn the spotlights on. We've been waiting so long to show the world where we belong. And now with every breath in me, God give me serenity to control my energy. Ready to fight with every ounce of me. This is our destiny, to show the world just who we be. Now I spread my wings, I'm going higher now, yeah. And there's no time to think, there's no time to blink. We gotta make it somehow. I'm going forward. We'll weather the storm. We are united, standing side by side. We will not be denied. Our passion comes from deep inside. And as we claim the victory, our names remain in history, making our legacy. We recognize the opportunity to be undoubtedly the very best that we could be. Now I spread my wings, I'm going higher now, yeah. And there's no time to think, there's no time to blink. We gotta make it somehow. I'm going forward. I'm going forward.
When you children were weak and hungry, I took you to my bosom, fed you my oil. And even when you took and wasted and left me drained, there was always love for you in my soil. Even when my older children, they tried to shame me, setting no rules for the younger ones, bringing such grief and sadness into my household. In the end, they're still my daughters and sons. I will always be there for you. No matter what you do, whatever joy or pain that you are going through, I will always be there for you. I will be, I will be, I will be always there for you. Everybody always call me a blessed mother. Mama Trini, God must love you, they'd say. Hello, high water, I would just rise and embrace you, protecting my children in every way. Even when you fight and argue about different fathers, remember, the middle passage brought them straight to my door. Mama never worry about no race, I just love them. And so my blood is spoiled when you start to war. I will always be there for you. No matter what you do, whatever joy or pain that you are going through, I will always be there for you. I will be, I will be, I will be always there for you. So if you really want to make your old lady happy, if you really want to fill me with joy, all you got to do is start looking out for each other. I mean, man and woman, check for the girls and boys. To those of you who sow your seeds and then run like crazy, I want to see you turn and commit your heart. And those of you who choose to lead all the rest, do your duty. Foolishness will only tear us apart. And I will always be there for you. No matter what you do, whatever joy or pain that you are going through, I will always be there for you. I will be, I will be, I will be always there for you. I will always be there for you. No matter what you do, whatever joy or pain that you are going through, I will always be there for you. I will be, I will be, I will be always there for you.
Test.
If Trinidad is a boat sailing on the earth, I go sail on it. Oh Lord, I go sail on it. Whether it fast or slow, wheresoever it goes, I go in with it. Tell them I go in with it. I go sail when the tide is loud. I go sail when the
Mic
tide is near. If she going to hell and back, I go make the trip. I bound to make the trip. I sailing with the boat, sink or float. I sailing with the boat. I sailing with the boat, sink or float. I sailing with the boat. Through hurricane and storm, hell or high water come. And when she needs a push, I go into push like bush. If Trinidad is a boat, I go sail on it, sink or float. I have under scrutiny who plotting mutiny, and I watching them. I say I watching them. Who giving the captain lip, and all who abandon ship, and I'm marking them. I say I'm marking them. Stowaways, keeping free passage, castaways with excess baggage, crimson pirates moving into kill. But I sailing still, I say I sailing still. I sailing with the boat, sink or float. I sailing with the boat. I sailing with the boat, sink or float. I sailing with the boat. Through hurricane and storm, hell or high water come. And when she needs a push, I go into push like push. If Trinidad is a boat, I go sail on it, sink or float. I am a sailor by birth, calypso in my throat, and I'm sailing on. I say I'm sailing on. Trinbago is my tag, white and black is my flag, and I'm moving on. I say I'm moving on. It is right that I be on board, for in spite of the small reward, as she hastens to her destiny, she ain't leaving me. No how she leaving me. I sailing with the boat, sink or float. I sailing with the boat. I sailing with the boat, sink or float. I sailing with the boat. Through hurricane and storm, hell or high water come. And when she needs a push, I go into push like bush. If Trinidad is a boat, I go sail on it, sink or float. Pessimistic who think, soca boat going to sing. Tell them think again, I say tell them think again. And all who cherish the hope, anchor on out the road. Tell them hope again.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to have you here at the home of football. For those of you who may have just arrived, we kindly ask for the purpose of our program, just to ensure that your mobile phones are on the silent mode. As well as we ask that if you are in the parties that you make your way to your seats at this time so that we're in a position to start the proceedings. There'll be a formal program and then we'll retire to other aspects of the program thereafter. So we kindly ask that you be seated at this time. Thank you.
If Trinidad is a boat sailing on the earth, I go sail on it. Oh Lord, I go sail on it. Whether it fast or slow, wheresoever it goes, I go in with it. Tell them I go in with it. I go sail when the tide is low. I go sail when the tide is near. If she go to hell and back, I go make the trip. I'm bound to make the trip. I'm sailing with the boat, sink or float. I'm sailing with the boat. I'm sailing with the boat, sink or float. I'm sailing with the boat. Through hurricane and storm, hell or high water come. And when she needs a push, I'm going to push like bush. If Trinidad is a boat, I go sail on it, sink or float. I have under scrutiny who plotting mutiny, and I watching them. I say I watching them. Who giving the captain lip, and all who abandon ship, and I'm marking them. I say I'm marking them. Stowaways, keeping free passage, castaways with excess baggage, crimson pirates moving in to kill, but I'm sailing still. I say I'm sailing still. I'm sailing with the boat, sink or float. I'm sailing with the boat. I'm sailing with the boat, sink or float. I'm sailing with the boat. Through hurricane and storm, hell or high water come. And when she needs a push, I'm going to push like push. If Trinidad is a If Trinidad is a boat, I go sail on it, sink or float. Pessimistic who think soca boat going to sink. Tell them think again. I say tell them think again. And all who cherish the hope and can run out the road. Tell them hope again. I say tell them hope again. I go bail when she spring a leak. Trim the sails when the winds get weak. If she stalling and she need a push, I go push like push. Oh Lord, I go push like push. I sailing with the boat, sink or float. I sailing with the boat. I sailing with the boat, sink or float. I sailing with the boat. Through hurricane and storm, hell or high water come. And when she needs a push, I go into push like push. If Trinidad is a boat, I go sail on it, sink or float.
Sweet TNT is my country. Every creed and race have an equal place. We shall overcome one day I say, all this misery and pain and strain. We have to unite, stand up and fight, and get it right. One day, sweet TNT is my
Ladies and gentlemen, we kindly ask that you stand at this time for the arrival of the Honorable Prime Minister of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. Thank you. Please remain standing for the national anthem.
Forged from the love of liberty in the fires of hope and prayer, with boundless faith in our destiny, we solemnly declare. Side by side we stand, islands of the blue Caribbean Sea. This our native land, we pledge our lives to thee. Here every creed and race find an equal place, and may God bless our nation. Here every creed and race find an equal place.
And may God bless our nation.
Thank you. We invite you to sit. Dr. the Honorable Keith Rowley, Prime Minister of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, the Honorable Shamfa Kajo, Minister of Sport and Youth Affairs, the Member of Parliament for Couva South, the Honorable Rudranathan Darsingh, Parliamentary Secretary in the Ministry of Public Utilities and Member of Parliament for Laventille East, the Honorable Mr. Adrian Leonce, the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Sport and Youth Affairs, Mr. Farouk Hussain. Our special guests visiting the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, the President of FIFA, Mr. Gianni Infantino, the President of CONCACAF, Mr. Victor Montagliani, and President of the Trinidad and Tobago Football Association, Mr. David John Williams. Good afternoon and welcome to the official opening and launch of the home of football in the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. As we begin our proceedings, we simply pray that all goes well with our program today and that the work that has gone before to ensure that we reach to this hallowed day continues to augur well for the promotion of sport in Trinidad and Tobago and the development of our country as a place where talent, whether on or off the field, can always be nurtured and advanced to the benefit of all. To deliver welcome remarks, ladies and gentlemen, will you please welcome the President of the Trinidad and Tobago Football Association, Mr. David John Williams.
Thank you very much, Mr. Master of Ceremonies. Prime Minister of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley. Honorable Shamfa Kajo, Minister of Sport and Youth Affairs, members of the Cabinet, our distinguished guests, President Gianni Infantino, Victor Montagliani, President of CONCACAF, ladies and gentlemen, members of the media, welcome. Today is a very emotional day for me, but I'll keep my emotions down. When I entered the doors of the TTFA as president, along with my team some 4 years ago, we confirmed what we already knew, that the organization was in dire need of restructuring and needed to be placed on a sound financial path. Ladies and gentlemen, while many would expect me today to beat my chest and campaign on the facility behind me, I will do no such thing. You see, this investment is just one spoke in the strategic wheel that is quickly accelerating to put Trinidad and Tobago football on a sustainable path. We considered it a priority to restore our administrative dignity and reputation with FIFA and CONCACAF and the government of Trinidad and Tobago, as well as corporate Trinidad and Tobago, from the shambles we met in 2015. Having had 8 years accounts, having not had 8 years accounts, we have now ensured that our audited financial reports are up to date. We have put in place sound governance systems which allowed our suspended FIFA funding to be restored and improved our credibility with our stakeholders. Having put our governance structure in place, which allowed us to receive our FIFA funded for the Home of Football project, FIFA believed and supported our vision. I wish to express my sincere thanks to President Infantino and his team for having FIFA agree to provide funding for this project through the FIFA Forward program. This 72-room facility, along with the new training fields and associated facilities, along with the income generation project to the front of the Atto Bolden Stadium, positions the TTFA in pole position to rise from the ashes. Honorable Prime Minister, we are indeed happy and eternally grateful to the government of the Trinidad and Tobago, who believed in the vision and provided the prime acreage for these facilities, aptly positioned in the close proximity to the National Cycling Velodrome and the Aquatic Center. A heartfelt thank you to the government of Trinidad and Tobago. Just for the records, here are some key milestones dates. Deed of lease, granted August 3rd, 2017. FIFA Forward project approval, September 21st, 2017. Town and country planning approval, February 6, 2018. Foundation works commenced, February 14th, 2018. TNTech connection, November 5th, 2019. Official opening ceremony, November 18, 2019. I am happy we are all here today to celebrate this historic occasion. We have every confidence that this investment will make the TTFA self-sufficient and self-sustainable in the not-too-distant future. Allow me to briefly share with you a few other achievements of this administration. We brought some pride in the physical workspace of our employees by relocating them from the leaking poultry rooms below the Hazley Crawford Stadium and through the benevolence of the Ministry of Sport to more well-appointed accommodations at the Atto Bolden Stadium. With discipline and skill, we paid in excess of 12 million of the over 30 million debt we inherited in 2015, as well as doing our best in bringing our expenditure in line with revenue. We identified and played against top-ranked FIFA countries strategically in order to receive appearance revenues to help run our operations and to expose our team to high-level opposition. While I share some of the disappointments of our senior team recent performances, I also recognize we are in the rebuilding stage. Notwithstanding the millstone of debt around our neck, we affected some of our national programs. We were able to secure funding to support youth development program and elite football. The future is bright. Clairefontaine in France and St. George's in England are prime examples that this home of football is a step in the right direction. It now allows us to switch gears to continue the development we have already started that will now allow us to once more produce world-class footballers such as Everett Gally Cummings, Steve David, Wilfred Cave, Leroy Dillion, Warren Archibald, Ron Lafforet, Dwight York, Russell Latterby, Stern John, to name a few. Ladies and gentlemen, based on our performance to date on this project, I am now making a bold request by asking the government to grant a full deed of lease to the TTFA to improve upon, manage, and operate the Attoboldan Stadium as a dedicated national football facility, thus completing this area as a world-class sporting hub. Madam Minister, I await your response. Permit me to thank the many contractors who have worked diligently on this project, and also a special thanks to our suppliers and corporate sponsors, as well as the staff of the TTFA who competently help administer the operations. To the heads of the various NSOs and to Sport TT, who have given moral support and encouragement, thank you very much. Most importantly, my family, my deepest gratitude to you for the sacrifices made. Let me say publicly that your support went a long way in having this project successfully completed. HOF, Home of Football, today onwards takes on a new meaning. HOF, here is to our future. HOF, helping our football. And a new meaning for the TTFA, thanks to FIFA again. In closing, at the risk of breaching any copyrights to your party, Honorable Prime Minister, let me say that this TTFA administration is getting the job done. Thank you very much for your kind attention. And I now invite the Minister of Sport to say a few words.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Thank you. Dr. the Honorable Keith Christopher Rowley, Prime Minister of the Government of Trinidad and Tobago. The Honorable Rudranath Indar Singh, Member of Parliament for Hoover South. My colleague here from Representative for Tuna Puna, the Honorable Esmond Ford. Mr. Farouk Hussain, the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Sport and Youth Affairs, President of FIFA, Mr. Gianni Infantino, President of CONCACAF, Mr. Victor Montagliani, President of our very own Trinidad and Tobago Football Association, Mr. David John Williams. A hearty good afternoon to one and all. Ladies and gentlemen, I am particularly pleased to be here this afternoon to celebrate with you on this, the occasion of the opening of the highly anticipated, and might I say, the long-awaited Trinidad and Tobago Home of Football and Multi-Purpose Facility. It's a distinct honor and privilege for me in my capacity as citizen, member of the government, and Minister of Sport and Youth Affairs to witness the opening of this state-of-the-art facility, which serves to benefit not just the football fraternity, but also citizens and sport enthusiasts from throughout the Caribbean community. Allow me to begin by expressing my sincerest gratitude to FIFA and CONCACAF for partnering with the government of Trinidad and Tobago, making this tremendous investment at this critical time. We owe a debt of gratitude to the TTFA for its vision and foresight in identifying the need for this infrastructure, for staying the course and for getting the job done. In the Ministry of Sport and Youth Affairs, we operate on a fundamental principle where we say we partner for progress. This, ladies and gentlemen, is a fine example of progressive partnership for progress. This, ladies and gentlemen, this partnership between the TTFA and the government of Trinidad and Tobago, where the government provided 17.5 acres of prime state land, where TTFA provided direction and management of the project, and last but not least, FIFA and CONCACAF kept its commitment and fully funded the project, delivered to you in time. This FIFA Forward Development Program is a powerful and dynamic game changer. In only 3 years, I have seen the incredible work that FIFA Forward is doing with women's football in Kenya, youth football in Poland and Japan and New Zealand, with infrastructure as it relates to futsal in Costa Rica. Not very often we in the English-speaking Caribbean receive this type of attention So we are indeed grateful. As you may be aware, this facility is strategically located close to two of the government state-of-the-art facilities, the National Cycling Center and the National Aquatic Center. You can also find nearby the Atto Boldon Stadium, the National Cricket Center, and the Brian Lara Cricket Academy. Our national sport policy calls on us to not only develop sport, but to develop our people and our economy through sport. To this end, we are creating a hub for national, regional, and international sporting activity, thus encouraging our sporting bodies to promote our sport tourism thrust through hosting sporting events that will bring the world to our shores, provide much-needed economic activity, expand their respective sporting disciplines, and improve their revenue generation. As we get ready to host the Commonwealth Youth Games in August 2021 at the Atto Boldon Stadium. This home of football will play a critical role in properly accommodating our guests, providing employment and other opportunities from the people of Couva and the surrounding communities, and last but not least, providing a top-up for the TTFA kitty. The government of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago has been the main investor and financer of national sporting infrastructure, sporting activities, and operations throughout the years, or should I say for as long as I can remember. Over the past 15 years, the government of Trinidad and Tobago has contributed over $500 million in support to national governing bodies. And from 2005 to date, the TTFA has benefited from over $107 million in support from the government of Trinidad and Tobago. And that is only the TTFA. I didn't cover the support provided to community groups and grassroots entities in treating with sport at the community level. The Trinidad and Tobago Pro League was created 17 years ago with the intention of being self-sufficient and has received at least $52 million in state funding and still continues to benefit from the generosity of the government and the strained public purse. Even against the backdrop of the challenging fiscal and economic circumstances, this government we remain committed to the advancement of sport, and more specifically, the advancement of the beautiful game of football. For as long as I can remember, football has been and continues to be the people's sport. Whatever happens in football affects all of us. We therefore have a very keen and vested interest in its development. There's a popular quote by Nelson Mandela which speaks to the power of sport, its ability to change character, to develop opportunities for young people, and to unite countries and nations and so on. I've been in the Ministry of Sport and Youth Affairs for a little over 1 year. And every single day, I witness the truth and essence of this perfectly pointed statement in one way or the other. Over the weekend, I met a young man, well-dressed, well-structured, well-mannered. But what piqued my interest about him, he was articulate and very eloquent. He spoke very, very well. I asked, "Is your mother a teacher?" He smiled and he said, "No, I'm a footballer." Then he proceeded to tell me his story about how football kept him in school because he went to school solely to play football, and how he advanced even to sixth form. But somewhere along the journey in sixth form, a rule was established where 18-year-old students could no longer play for their schools. He was tempted to drop out of school, attempted to join a gang, and started ducking school to become a maxi conductor. He kept saying, "Football saved me," because every time he strayed, his football coach found him and get him involved in a football program. He kept saying, "Football has made me the man I am today." Here we see football as a pathway for sound education, a tool for discipline, for building character, as recreation, a tool for holistic health, a promoter of safe communities, and the list goes on and on. Today is November 18th. 30 years after November 18th of 1989, when Trinidad and Tobago was in high spirits, getting ready to witness the match on November 19th, where Trinidad and Tobago took on the United States of America on the road to Italy. And the country united like never before. We joined our voices and begged the strike squad for a goal that we never got. We united and delighted in the moment nonetheless, and that day we'll never forget. Here we see football as a unifying force, prompting peace, togetherness, tolerance, and unity like nothing else can. And now today, 30 years later, through the opening of this fine facility, we see football as an enabler, a game changer, an income generator, a tool for economic expansion and diversification. There are so many stories that can be told and so many lessons to be learned. Lessons about perseverance, about sacrifice, about changing the narrative, about charity, about giving back to our community, about self-sufficiency. Lessons about maximizing your fullest potential as an NGB. Lessons about building fruitful relationships within your entity, with your government, your parent body, and your stakeholders from the international community. Because sport is not just about sports. Sport is business, serious business. And we all have a duty to embrace it as such, respect it as such, and manage it as such. Then and only then we'll be able to enjoy the full benefit of the many layers and facets of this powerful tool called sport. So as I close, I wish to thank all the stakeholders, both local and international, for making this project possible, for all the support you would have provided to sport and football in particular. Partnerships like these touch hearts and change lives for good. This is not just about sport, but more about human development. Our mandate is the same. What you want for the football fraternity is the same thing that we want for the national community. Our constituents are one in the same. We have the ability to make magic if we work together. Together we can restore hope for our youth. Together we can rebuild communities. Together we can unite the world. Together we can revitalize our communities. I am excited about the possibilities and opportunities that will come with the opening of this new facility. Our better days are ahead, and I am happy to be a witness. I join you and the rest of Trinidad and Tobago on behalf of the government, on behalf of the Ministry of Sport and Youth Affairs. We say, long live football, long live FIFA. May God bless all of you, and may God richly bless our nation. I thank you.
And our thanks to you, Madam Minister, the Honourable Shamfa Kajo, for sharing, of course, remarks, bringing greetings on behalf of the Ministry of Sport and Youth Affairs. And in acknowledging those who are with us today, I'd like to acknowledge the presence of the Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives and Member of Parliament, the Honourable Esmond Ford. Member of Parliament, thank you for being with us today. And equally to acknowledge the presence of Trinidad and Tobago's outstanding first gold medalist at the Olympic Games, Mr. Hazley Crawford. Thank you for being with us today, sir. As our program continues, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for us to hear from the President of the World Governing Body of Football. Please welcome to address you none other than Mr. Gianni Infantino, President of FIFA.
Dear Prime Minister, dear Minister, dear David, President of TTFA, dear Victor, President of CONCACAF, dear friends of football in Trinidad and Tobago, it is today a great pleasure for me to be here with you. It is a great pleasure because today, dear Prime Minister, not only we get the job done, but we got the job done. We did it, and I say we because we did it all together. And that's why the first thing I want to say today is simply, but most importantly, thank you. And I have to thank quite a few people here, actually. First, of course, you, Prime Minister, for having allowed this to happen by giving the land, together with your government, to this crazy guy here, David John Williams, who had a dream, and this dream became reality. But without you, this would not have happened. Without you and your government. So thank you very much. I have to thank, of course, as well, Victor Montagliani, President of CONCACAF, who accompanied us in this journey here to make this home of football a reality. I have to thank, obviously, David for dreaming about it, for speaking about it, for believing in it, for fighting for it, and for making it happen. I come here now for the third time. The first time I came, I was not FIFA president. I was campaigning to become FIFA president. And I was trying to find around the world people who were believing in what football can achieve, dear Minister, as you said so rightly. In people who had the heart beating for football. And in my journey, I came to Trinidad and Tobago, and I was not believing to find somebody like this in Trinidad and Tobago. I have to say the truth. Because Trinidad and Tobago Football Association was more or less in the same state as FIFA at that time. David was saying shambles. I say shambles is maybe a compliment to the state you found. And we have to say the things as they are, dear friends. Because the next one I have to say thank you is all of you here present, and those who are not present but who contributed as well. All those who love football, all those who believe in football, all those of you who have football close to their heart, like David, like all of you, because without all of you, this would not be a reality. And today, dear friends, we are here to witness something that the second time I came here in Trinidad and Tobago 2.5 years ago, on the 10th of April, right, 2017, I would not have believed to see 2.5 years later, because there was kind of nothing here. But we still had fun. We played a football game. I even scored one of the very few goals of my footballing career. So I always remember the Ato Bolton Stadium, or the newly to be called Ato Bolton National Football Stadium, right? And I'm sure, dear Prime Minister, dear Minister, if you give the TTFA the possibility to run the stadium, you can host also the Commonwealth game there. They will allow you. If they create problems, you let me know and I will make sure that they open the doors. But the whole community, the whole football, the whole sports community in Trinidad and Tobago, in the Caribbean, in the whole Commonwealth, and actually in the entire world will be proud of TTFA running the stadium, as we are all proud of TTFA having built the home of football. David was saying this is an emotional day for him. It is an emotional day for me as well, because this is what makes it worse for all of us to invest in football. You came, David, you found the federation which was under the earth. TTFA, Trinidad and Tobago Football, very sadly, was on the world headlines for other reasons than football, even though linked with football. And today, we are here, and I'm proud to be here, because today Trinidad and Tobago is the capital of the world. Of the world of football, yes, but as we know that football is by far the most important thing in the world, today Trinidad and Tobago is the capital of the world. And today we can present something to the world, not only to Trinidad and Tobago that we can be proud of, not only to the Caribbean that we can be proud of, not only to the Commonwealth, but to the world, somebody we can really be proud of, somebody that came with dedication, with passion, with enthusiasm, with a little bit of help from FIFA as well, through the forward funding, with CONCACAF contributing, the new CONCACAF, the new TTFA, and the new FIFA. We've been able to do something of which we can be proud, of which our children can be proud, of which all of you here can be proud, because football is much more than just a sport. It's much more than just winning or losing games. We have here a world champion, Yuri Djorkaeff from France, world champion in '98. But only one country is world champion. FIFA has 211 countries. It doesn't mean that 210 countries are nothing. No. Our World Cup, dear friends, dear David, is this. It's the home of football. It's a place where boys and girls from Trinidad and Tobago, from the whole Caribbean, from the entire world can come and can enjoy and can grow. Because football is life. Football teaches lessons for our life. You said it already. When you play football, you learn. You learn about respect. You learn about respecting your opponent. You learn about respecting a referee. You learn about respecting your teammates. You learn about being part of a team. When you have a good day, you will help your teammates. When you have a bad day, you will be helped by your teammates. And football gives us many, many more lessons. But there is one particular lesson, dear friends, that football is teaching all of us every day. And that is to believe in ourselves, to be resilient, and to stand up always after a defeat. All of you have been involved in football, who have played football, you know it. When you win a game, even if it's just a game amongst friends, you are in a good mood, right? You are smiling, you are happy, you go happy to work, you go happy to school, you go happy at home, you bring flowers to your wife, or the wife brings flowers to her husband maybe as well. But you are happy. And you are happy until when? Until the next game. If you lose a game, you are sad, you are angry. But actually you're angry and sad only for a couple of hours, because then you start to concentrate on the next game. Because you know that next Sunday or next Wednesday or next Saturday there will be the next game, and you will focus and you're going to win that next game. And that is exactly what happened in FIFA, what happened in CONCACAF, and what happened in TTFA. From a defeat, we have been able to build a success story. From a defeat which made us all sad and angry, we took the energy to do something which is the true and real legacy of Trinidad and Tobago Football Association, but not only of Trinidad and Tobago, full stop. So thanks again to everyone. Thanks for having contributed to this. May God bless you, and thanks for having us here. All the best.
Thank you very much to the President of FIFA, Mr. Gianni Infantino. Mr. Montagliani, it may be a few years again to go before I have the distinct pleasure of introducing you in that hallowed capacity. Ladies and gentlemen, we are fortunate today that this is being carried to many parts of Trinidad and Tobago, and by extension the world, thanks to the media attention that the official opening ceremony has attracted. There are youngsters in our audience, one just about 3 rows away from the Prime Minister, paying attention to everything that we do and everything that we say. And so it is fitting at this time, historic as it is for our republic, that there is now a home of football, to invite to deliver today's feature address the Prime Minister of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. Will you please welcome the Honorable Dr. Keith Rowley.
Thank you very much, Wendell. My parliamentary colleague, the Deputy Speaker of the Parliament of Trinidad and Tobago, Mr. Esmond Ford, Member of Parliament for Tunapuna. My cabinet colleague, the Minister of Sport, Ms. Shamfa Kojo, Sport and Youth Affairs, that is. The President of FIFA, President Gianni Infantino, President of CONCACAF, Mr. Victor Montagliani. My other parliamentary colleague, I've heard him being addressed. I haven't seen him, but I hope he's here. Member of Parliament for Couva South. Who should be joining us, I'm told. Mr. Rudy Indar Singh. Mr. Farouk Hussein, Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Sport. Mr. David John Williams, outgoing chairman of the TTFA, or is it the incoming candidate of the TTFA? Whatever you are, sir, I acknowledge your presence. Other distinguished guests, fellow citizens, visitors, or members of the media, today is one of those days where this job is all about feeling good. And I do feel good. I've been down for the last week with a flu whose name I shall not repeat. But today is my first day out of work for just over a week. And I do feel good. Because this morning I opened up the morning at BP, being introduced to the work of our young technicians who are running that organization and its technical capacity. And then I've just come from a short cabinet meeting where the cabinet has approved 400 scholarships for our youngsters who have just completed their national exams. And now I am here in the presence of the leadership of football worldwide and local. So I should be feeling good, and I do feel good. But I must tell you, as President Infantino has said, we need to talk. And maybe today I should talk. Let me begin by saying this location here in central Trinidad was not selected by accident, and it was not selected yesterday. But it was selected by those persons, or should I say that person, who saw Trinidad and Tobago and its future above all else. For those of you who forget, permit me to remind you that a long, long time ago when I was a young man, I was the Minister of Agriculture and Lands, Marine Affairs as well. And it was in that portfolio that I received a visit from one of our patriots, a man called Aloy Likwai, who came to me in his capacity as a leader or the leader of the cricketing fraternity. And he came to ask the government to provide to cricket that site which is now the, what's it called? The Cricket Center. I think it's named after him, is it? The Cricket Center. And he made a case to the government that if we put that center in this location, we could lay the foundation for this area, as central as it could be in the country, where land was available, where infrastructure converged, to build a future for sport in Trinidad and Tobago, and cricket would take the lead. And it was against that intervention that the land was made available, and the management and organizers in cricket put that facility up. Later on, further developments took place. And after that, as a football fan, if not fanatic, I watched from the parliament FIFA becoming an international disgrace. In speaking as a parliamentarian in Trinidad and Tobago to FIFA and to those who ran it, many of whom were familiar to us, I had reason to put on Hansard and elsewhere on political platforms that FIFA was a mafia. And having said that, I also included CONCACAF in misconduct. And one of my colleagues came to the parliament and told us that he had to apologize in Switzerland because I had called FIFA a mafia. Well, if it was a mafia, couldn't call it a dog. FIFA was a mafia. Soon after, the mafiosi got the attention of the international community and the international police. And the story is well known to all of us, especially here in Trinidad and Tobago. Then David John Williams came to me in my capacity as Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, and I said to him, David, I don't want to see you, I don't want to hear. And David persisted in wanting to see me. He said, David, Trinidad and Tobago and football don't go together. And of course, FIFA is still a mafia. David persisted in wanting to talk to me. And eventually, to save myself from David, I allowed myself to see him. And he came. And he convinced me that he had an idea, a good idea. And this idea could work, and it could improve our situation. And I said, David, it couldn't work, it wouldn't work, because people make organizations, and I do not see the people who will change what I consider to be the football disaster. And then David wanted to see me again. And I said, David, you again? He said, but I want to bring to you the idea that there's somebody who's running for FIFA's leadership. And if that person wins, we would be able to change football and change FIFA. And I said, who is that? Because as far as I was concerned, all of them was mafiosi. And worse, an Italian. And then he said, Infantino. And I said, is he going to run? And David said, yes. And he said he's going to support him because we are small islands in the Caribbean, but we have a lot of votes. And as you know, votes matter. I know that. So he said, Infantino is going to run, and we'll support him, and we think he could win. And of course, he won. He came through campaign, and he won. Came back as president of FIFA soon after. And when he came with David and the team, as a courtesy call at the Diplomatic Center, he too had this story about what could happen here. And David's idea apparently was sold to him. He bought the story. And he asked me whether, in fact, I would help. And I said, help how? I know help who now, but help how? And the story of the public lands and this public partnership came up, well presented by David again, because David was always presenting this story. But I said to President Infantino then, the government of Trinidad and Tobago has always been, and it continues to be, a major supporter of the sport of football in our country. But I am not minded to jump on any bandwagon with any idea unless you, President Infantino, gives me the assurance that you will demonstrate to us in Trinidad and Tobago that you will run FIFA with transparency, with integrity, and let it be moved from where it was to where it could be. And I said to him, if you give me that assurance that FIFA, going forward, would do that, then the government of Trinidad and Tobago would consider that there's hope for football in Trinidad and Tobago where similar problems exist, and that taxpayers' land would be made available. I was given that assurance, and I was also given a small, not a plaque, but a FIFA flag dated April 10th, 2017. I took that flag back to my office at home, and I put that flag on a bookshelf over my head. It was my intention to throw it in the dustbin sometime soon after. But I can tell you, last night I looked at the flag, and it is still there. And I was pleased to know that today I can go back home and look at that flag for keeps. Because so far, they say no news is good news. And we have not had news from FIFA to confirm that it is operating as a mafia. So I say no news is good news. More than that, we have had the cooperation between FIFA, CONCACAF, and the TTFA towards the vision as presented by John Williams in those days. And that is what brings us here today. Because soon after we gave the commitment that we will consider the proposal came before the cabinet, and I want today to thank a minister who is not here. Minister Rambarat, Clarence Rambarat, Minister of Lands. Because it was his portfolio's responsibility, along with the Attorney General Office, to move this piece of land from the public ownership and use to FIFA, to TTFA, to allow this project to proceed. And because there was a sense of urgency, Minister Rambarat and the AG office, they were instructed to move with urgency, and they did. And you heard the timelines as outlined to you by President John Williams a while ago. I think that was record-breaking, and I think it's deserving of accommodation. But more importantly, as we presented the land to the TTFA and committed to it, the cabinet decision was only a part. We had to wait to hear if the other part of the bargain would have been kept by FIFA, by President Infantino. I am pleased to tell you that on every occasion that I inquired, the response was positive, that the funds were committed, that the funds were being made available, and that the project is underway. And this project is easily one of the smoothest that I have had any association with as Prime Minister or otherwise. I want to thank you, President Infantino. So this public land was made available. FIFA funds were made available. A lot of other things would have gone into it. I am sure some volunteer work went into it as well, to create great hope for football in Trinidad and Tobago and the region. But, ladies and gentlemen, a structure does not a vision conclude. This is just the beginning. I can tell you, a few weeks ago, I had the opportunity to travel to Washington. And while I was there, I met Trinidad and Tobago nationals one night. And one of the persons who came to see me and take part in that gathering was a certain Lincoln Tiger Phillips, who I suspect can still make the team. But he came to see me and to comment on how concerned he was about the state of football in Trinidad and Tobago, and to wonder whether there's anything he can do, which he can offer, which will be received in good spirit, to see whether in fact something can be done to assist us to move from where we are to where we want to be. And I say this against the background that if people do not populate this building and behave in a particular way as people in the game of football, this building will remain mortar, concrete, and galvanized, and will contribute to no significant change in Trinidad and Tobago. When I look in Lincoln's book, he gave me a copy of it. The recent book is called Above and Beyond the Crossbar. Lincoln was one of our outstanding, if not the most outstanding goalkeeper we've had, who went on to have a tremendous career in playing and coaching to success in the United States, playing against some of the best footballers who in fact did play the game, including Pele. I looked in that book and Lincoln selected some of the iconic pictures of his career. And in there I see John Stedman, I see Warren Archibald, I see De Leon, and I ask myself, where have all our footballers gone? Because I can tell you, if today we produce a team like that, President of FIFA, Italy, look out. We have produced some of the best footballing talent in Trinidad and Tobago. I think I saw Brent Sancho walking here a while ago. I might be wrong, but I saw somebody like Brent Sancho walking, Brent somewhere around. And we do have in our schools, as I speak to you now, we have boys and girls who are relying on the management of this sport, not on the government. The government has played its part, and the government will continue to play its part. What is missing is the management that we used to have when people served for service sake and produce from it the talent that was waiting for that helping hand. Today, ladies and gentlemen, if we are familiar with failure, it is in the area of management of our sport. We featured prominently in very many sports at the highest international level, led by volunteers with far less resources than we have now. My friend Hazley Crawford is in here. He won an Olympic gold medal from Trinidad and Tobago. We had no stadium and we had no track, but he won it. We didn't have a velodrome like this, but a name like Roger Gibbons was a household name in my time. And I was here when Chelsea and I think Spurs came to Trinidad and Tobago out of season to play against our team and to play an exhibition game. And after that, I played every game of football like I was recruited by Chelsea. That's what youngsters do. That's how youngsters develop. Today, we have these facilities, and we now have absolutely no excuse if we behave ourselves and accept from the taxpayers the hundreds of millions of dollars and the land that we've made available to those of you who manage football. You would have heard the minister speak about how many $100 million went into sport. You would have heard the minister speak about how much millions went into football. But you would also have heard the voices that saying, government ain't doing nothing for sport, government ain't doing nothing for football, government has no money. Government is an administration. It is taxpayers' money. And every dollar that goes here is that dollar that was taken from somewhere else and from somebody else to make available to what you are involved in. So having partnered with you, having partnered with football to make this public asset land available to you and money available to those involved in the management of the game, the taxpayers can expect no less but a dramatic improvement and the full use of this facility in the vision in which it was presented and in the way it has been built for the purpose for which it was designed. So Trinidad and Tobago today holds out a model to the world of a facility like this in a location like this, where not only footballers will occupy these rooms, because when there is a sporting event involving cyclists or involving swimmers or involving anybody else coming to this location, this facility provides rooming and board and I hope good food and good conduct for all those who will play sport in this country and in this location. We can now advertise this location to people who will come, teams and managers, to practice, to meet us, to play with us, to play against us, or just to be in a place that is so salubrious that if you came last season, you can come here, spend some time, and hope to come first next season. So ladies and gentlemen, I too would want to thank all those who had something to do with this, from the surveyors who surveyed the land, to the contractors, personnel who helped to build it, to the management team that stood up against those who thought it couldn't have been done, and to those who allocate money at FIFA, who once again took a chance on Trinidad and Tobago. And we are happy that today the building is here, and I trust that TTFA owns it. Ladies and gentlemen, today is a special day for all of us. Especially, I want to acknowledge the youngsters, and on their behalf, all those boys and girls and teenagers and those who one day will walk out of this building and walk onto an international field could look back and say, I started my career at the home of football in Trinidad and Tobago. And on behalf of all the Jan Stedmans and all the Leroy De Leons and all the Warren Archibalds and Wilfred Cave and all those people who need this, I'm sure they too would want me, President Infantino, to say to you, thank you, and don't forget us here in Trinidad and Tobago. We're happy to be your partner, and I love your tie. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Prime Minister. And thank you to our guests. Would you please be seated for a moment? Right, in terms of order at this time, we're going to clear the area immediately to my left. There are two ceremonial functions to be conducted by the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, accompanied by the President of FIFA, and by extension, Minister of Sport, CONCACAF President, and the TTFA, the TTFA delegation, as well as the FIFA delegation. MP Ford, you're invited. Permanent Secretary, you'll also be invited as well. The first activity will be the ceremonial unveiling of the plaque. This will be followed by the ceremonial cutting of the ribbon, and the official delegation will make their way on the tour. In any part of the world that you go, that tour will take a certain length of time. You will be here for a few minutes. There'll be music to entertain you. There's a token of appreciation for your presence here today, and that too will be presented to you. And then shortly after the official tour has concluded, you'll then be invited to make the easier tour, the one with less explanation that allows you to see the facilities, oh, and by the way, touch the facilities as well. We will do so in groups. So rather than have 250 persons all in at the same time, there will be a bit of a staggered movement, and the officials will be there to invite you on the way. I am the only obstacle between you and a meal. So in a short while, you'll also be invited to retire for refreshments that have been catered for your attendance here today. And I hope that you do enjoy that as well. Now that the area is clear, which is what that purpose was all about, I'll kindly invite the Prime Minister, FIFA President, CONCACAF President, Minister of Sport, TTFA President, Mr. Ford, and our FIFA delegation, PS as well, to please make your way over, first to the plaque unveiling, and then secondly to the ribbon cutting.
Pleasant good afternoon to all our viewers here on CC and TV6. We're here in Balmain, Vancouver for the official opening of the Home of Football presented by the Trinidad and Tobago Football Federation. We just witnessed lots of speeches from the TTFA president, David John Williams, together with his special guest, the president of FIFA, Gianni Infantino, and Victor Montagliani, the CONCACAF president. Also with them, the Prime Minister of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, Dr. Keith Rowley. What present is participating in the ribbon cutting, flanked alongside by the TTFA president, David John Williams, as the supporters here applaud the effort. Also part of the delegation is the Minister of Sport, the Honorable Shamfa Kajo, and Mr. Esmond Ford, the Tunapuna MP, who is part of all of the activities that is happening here at the moment. So the delegation will be directed inside of the brand new building as it's been officially opened, and they will take an official tour. We have lots to talk about. We've got some guests alongside us that we will have a few words with in just a second. But what you are witnessing, once again, in case you just joined us here on TV6, is the official opening of the Home of Football here in Balmain, Vancouver. Just to remind you of some of the guests, Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley, Minister of Sport Shamfa Kajo, Rujanath Injar Singh, the MP for Vancouver South, is also here, alongside the special guest, Gianni Infantino, FIFA President, CONCACAF President Victor Montagliani, and TTFA President David John Williams. So I'm getting set to have a chat with one of our special guests as the official party have just made their way inside of the 72-room facility. And I'm here at the moment with the TTFA or TTFF competition manager, Sharon O'Brien, and this must be a very special occasion for you guys, the official opening of this facility.
Yes, it is a momentous occasion to have a facility built like this, yes.
72 rooms. Of course, there's a beach soccer facility. You've got training fields. Just give us an oversight of what this facility contains.
It is a 72-room hotel, as you said. We can host up to around 300 guests comfortably. To the back of the building, when you go, you will see that we also hold a facility called, we say this is the dorms for the youth footballers from age 10 and up, our national program or any program that wishes to use the facility. The facility is in close proximity to the cycling, velodrome, and the aquatics. So it also offers to them the use of the facility.
Well, you know, just before we get some more into the facility, can you just explain to our viewers exactly what is taking place at the moment inside of this building?
Okay, right now the presidential, well, we will say the presidential party because the president of FIFA, CONCACAF, and the Prime Minister is here with the Minister of Sport. So they are now going to actually tour the facility, and they started with our lobby, and now they're going to view the various rooms and the other part of the facility.
As competition manager of the TTFF, of course, your job is to ensure that this facility is fully utilized. What does your role entail in terms of fully maximizing the use of this facility?
At present, as the hotel is now opened, we tend to staff it. So at the present moment, you can say I am like temporarily general manager for the facility. We actually, to test the hotel, we hosted the girls under 14 challenge series for CFU. We hosted our senior men team in Anguilla in the friendly last weekend. And yes, this weekend we hosted Antigua en route to their Nations League game in Curacao against Aruba.
All right, so it is a 72-room facility here. Of course, it must be bittersweet somewhat, I would imagine, knowing that next week is the TTFF election, and this facility being opened, being the flagship of this current administration, being opened just a week before that. In your opinion, how does it feel, or what are your expectations moving forward with an election just a week away?
Actually, with me, I'm staff. So regardless who is there, I am willing to work with them. Once they're willing to work with me, I think I can work with anyone. So whoever wins the election, they have a brand new facility to utilize and maximize and bring in funds to the TTFA so we can be self-sufficient.
Are you confident of holding on to the administrative power of the TTFA come next week?
I think so. I think my track record speaks for itself, and I have belief that I will hold on, yes.
Well, as we speak about elections, of course, there has been some detractors with regards to the facility. Many people have called it, a waste of money. Obviously, your opinion would differ from that.
I tend not to give opinion. I'm not into the politics thing. Whatever they do, I am for football. Once whoever is there is for the best interest of football, that is me.
But as a football person, you must have some, and as competition manager as well, what is your feeling about the facility and the benefits that it can bring?
Oh, this facility could bring in tremendous funding to the TTFA. We had a lot of NGBs that view the facility and they are all happy with it. Based on the teams we also hosted here, they are all happy and enjoy the facility while they were here. So I expect that we will get persons to come and stay at the facility. Actually, we have people ready and waiting to come in to use the facility.
Well, as football people, I'm sure many people like yourself would agree that a facility like this is essential for football. But of course, there's always concerns about being able to fund and to continue to maintain such a facility, as we've seen with other facilities around Trinidad and Tobago. What is the TTFF's plan to maintain and to keep this facility running?
I want to believe that I wasn't in all the planning, but I want to believe that in doing the whole makeup for the facility, a maintenance plan was in place to maintain the facility, and I think we should be able to do it.
And what's the short, long-term plans for this facility?
To make money.
To make money. All right, so of course, this is Sharon O'Brien, the competition manager for the Trinidad and Tobago Football Federation, former women's president as well. And as we speak at the official opening of the TTFF Home Football Facility, this is happening right here in Balmain, Couva. We just saw the cutting of the ribbon. FIFA President Gianni Infantino, Victor Montagliani, CONCACAF President, and of course, Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley. We will take a break and come back with much more here on TV6.
I see a people creative who must overcome. Make magic from old steel, from rusty old drum. So why should I fear? Some tears here and there, I tell them no way. No way. Camaraderie so special, like natural instinct. Give me two by the river, is come take a drink. Outspoken but kind, no silent but
Welcome back to our viewers here on CCN TV6 for the official opening of the TTFF Home of Football. It is sweltering hot at the moment. Perhaps it's because of the gentleman that I've got alongside me. He's no stranger in Trinidad and Tobago football, the former president of the Veterans Association of Trinidad and Tobago and a TTFA board member, Mr. Selby Brown. We're here for this opening. Firstly, what's your feelings?
Very good. Elated. This is historic. The construction of this building, the start time, the completion time, the input of the government of Trinidad and Tobago, the input of FIFA, the support of CONCACAF, all together ensuring that this is in place to make the TTFA self-sufficient in generating its own funds that will fuel further development from youth going right up the pathway in a restructured Trinidad and Tobago football.
Now, I'm going to ask you this question from a perspective of being former president of the Veterans Association of Trinidad and Tobago. It's the first time that we are having a facility here in Trinidad and Tobago. From that perspective, judging from all of the legends that we've had over the past, how important do you think this facility is for their legacy as well as the upcoming youngsters?
Well, James, the reality is this is not the first such FIFA investment in a facility in Trinidad and Tobago. The fact is, FIFA invested in a facility that is far larger than this one, but it's just not an asset.
For the sake of our viewers, can you tell us which facility was that?
That's the Center for Excellence at Makoya.
But this is the first owned by the Football Federation, is it?
The first home of Trinidad and Tobago football after 111 years in operation. One, and two, it is not the first time that the government of Trinidad and Tobago has given land to the TTFA for construction of a headquarters. The last time that happened was during the term of Mrs. Jean Pierre as Minister of Sport, and the land was on Fitzblackman Drive, adjacent to the Hazy Crawford Stadium.
Is this a dream come true for you?
It is a huge dream. It is the way that you set your roots in, that you plan and make your whole exercise become self-sufficient in terms of revenue generation. And it is what should have been done years ago.
Now, I've got to ask, of course, it's a grand occasion for many. Many people believe that this is something that is necessary, but many people also have concerns about the sustainability of such a venture. What are your views concerning that?
Well, I'll tell you that as early as March next year, the CONCACAF has agreed to move a tournament that was scheduled for Bradenton in Florida at the IMG complex to right here, having it hosted here in Trinidad. That's significant. I would tell you that the TTFA spends some $8 million in hotel bills right here in Trinidad. That is a +8 now for us. We have our own facility.
Well, congratulations. And
that the facts are that the feasibility study done by the Chartered Accountants on the whole 72-room project and the multi-purpose facility.
Can you tell us who the Chartered Accountants were, if you don't?
Pricewaterhouse, Cooper, PwC.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Brown. I know it's a very special occasion this evening, and I'd leave you to run along and celebrate.
And I want to say that all the past footballers are here, are thoroughly enjoying the occasion, as is Hazy Crawford. I just saw Keith Reno and a host of the boys. This, when we were #1 in the CONCACAF back in 1974, there were no such facilities. When we were playing at our best, our teams were changing their clothes under a tree in the savannah.
And now we have a facility that you can call a home.
Walk outside.
Well, we must take a pause right now, of course, and send it back to our studio at CCN TV6. Of course, FIFA President Gianni Infantino is here. Victor Montagliani, CONCACAF President, is here. Berto Sinclair, the most successful Gold Cup coach, is also here. We're going to take a pause and come back with more here from Couva.
And politicians, them could come along too, 'cause we moving with a power and the glory, 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 glory. See how we float in style. See how we moving. See how we moving. Watch how we grooving. How we float in style. One lovely nation under the Ganges don't meet the Nile. Them boys with the hidden agendas and the mind benders, they will always do their due. But now that we holding hand, trotting to the promised land, them could come along too, 'cause we moving with a power and the glory. See how we float in style. One lovely nation heading to salvation. The Ganges don't meet the Nile. My people, oh my people, keep on time. Understand up and be counted. Understand up and be counted. Oh, understand up and be counted. Yeah, 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 yeah. Oh, 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 oh. And send a message. Send a message. Yeah, 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 yeah. How? See how we moving. Watch how we grooving. See how we floating slide. Nation under a groove. Jesus has met the night. All man strive to be happy. With luxury. In search of peace and happiness, the human mind wouldn't rest. A constant nag within we soul, demanding the world. We get the urge in different form, but luxury is the norm.
Welcome back to our viewers on CCN TV6 for the official opening of the TTFA, or TTFF rather, home of football. And I'm standing alongside a man who's very endeared to the hearts of the public of Trinidad and Tobago, a former member of the 2006 World Cup team, former sport minister as well, Mr. Brent Sancho. And of course, we're here for the occasion of the opening of this facility. Firstly, let me get your views concerning that.
Well, this venue it's very personal to me on many fronts. I remember when I sat in the chair as Minister of Sport back in 2015. The then president of the TTFA, Mr. Raymond Timke, came to me with this idea project. The project was supposed to be in Marabella. Of course, with government change, the plans have been shelved for some time. But obviously now, with it coming back on full and the city opening here today, I think it's a big occasion for football. As mentioned in some of the speeches here today, players like myself and before, we never really had a home where, of course, we can train, we can eat, sleep, and of course put all focus on football. Cricket would have had that fortunate situation for quite some time. There was always a question when the home of football for Trinidad and Tobago would be launched and established. And of course today is a historic day for football in this country.
From a player's perspective, Brent, how important or how impactful do you think this can be for football at the grassroots level, particularly in Trinidad and Tobago?
I think it's extremely important. You just have to look at the hotel costs the Football Association would have incurred since inception. Now they have their own facility that they can call their own, where players from all age groups can now come here, and coaches, of course, can come here, and it's really a mecca for football, a home for football, as it is said to be. and it's somewhere, of course, that would give all our national programs the ability to grow, to bloom, to blossom. So again, this is a big moment for the sport.
Of course, it's a big moment, as you said. You did mention cost, though, and it is expensive running facilities such as this. You're a businessman, a club owner as well. If anyone knows money, you would be one of those persons. How feasible or sustainable, how difficult is it, you think, to be able to operate and not just operate, but make a, run above, make a profit with a facility like this?
I think it's extremely difficult. You just have to look, of course, at the amount of tourists that we have coming to the shores, and of course the hotel occupation, how much they occupy, and it can tell you how difficult. I'm happy to see, of course, the government is here, because they would have to play an integral part, of course, in making sure that we can facilitate the sports tourism thrust, something that we've spoken about for many, many years. Unless through the associated governing bodies, the government of this country put the certain things in place to make sure that we could get teams to come here from all different sports, this place would just be mortar and galvanized.
Well, I don't mean to be a Debbie Downer in the room, but are there any concerns from you regarding how this facility is maintained? After all, we've seen the maintenance practices of several facilities in Trinidad and Tobago.
Maintenance is always a concern. It's something that has been Achilles' heel for all our sporting facilities in this country. And I'm very sure, and I hope that the Football Association would put a comprehensive plan in place to make sure that this does not become a white elephant. And only they're the ones that could lead that thrust.
Thank you very much, Brent Sancho. Of course, I'm going to allow you to run off and celebrate with the rest of the boys. I've got a very dear lady with us. She is the chairman of the Trinidad and Tobago, or the CEO rather, of the Trinidad and Tobago Professional Football League. And she's also a TTFA board member, Julia Batista. Julia, firstly, what is your feelings about the opening?
Well, I am glad that they made this opening in such a short space of time. I have visited the facility a number of times during the process. I've seen it move from the foundation to now where they could officially open it. And I've toured on many occasions at different parts of the project. And I'm glad to be here today to see, Trinidad and Tobago football asset, revealed to Trinidad and Tobago.
Well, you've been a hard-working servant of TNT football, particularly in the professional football league setting. How do you think professional teams or the professional league can benefit from such a facility?
Well, the professional teams, in terms of their benefit, I think that, sometimes people need to go into camps, and this may be an opportunity to be able to use the facility so that the facility will have some use rather than sitting there. So you may have clubs may be able to have the use of the facility post-match, so that we, I think it will benefit everybody. I see the major benefit for sport, because we are so close to all the other facilities, swimming, cycling. So when they have the specific tournaments that each sporting arm would have, they have something close by. Long time you would have to do a lot of traveling to get from where you stay to the facility. In this instance, we are close to all the facilities, so it could be a cutback on cost for a lot of teams as well. So it is probably one of the best ideas in terms of putting it in the location that it is. Some people may say no, based on the traffic factor that we have coming this way, and we have to be mindful of it. But again, nowhere in the world is devoid of traffic, but I think it will augur well for Trinidad and Tobago football at the end of the day once it is put to good use.
Well, you said that some people may say no, and many people have said no in various capacities concerning this facility. What would you say to detractors of the facility? And, what would be your counter perspective to those who may have criticized the building of a facility perhaps at the expense of results on the field?
At the expense of?
Of results. Some people would have mentioned that, but how would you counter? What would be your counter argument with regards to that?
Results? Well, I'm trying to get the question.
No, many people have been, criticized this facility because they've seen it as, sacrificing results in terms of building a facility. But how would you counter argue?
Well, listen, all I will say to that is that when you want something, you have to give up something else. We would prefer it not to be so, but unfortunately, sometimes it is so. In order to get what you want, you have to give up something on one side. Probably not as much as you feel you should, right? But you'll have to give up something in order to get what you want. That is a normal thing. I know everybody wants what they want. We can't get away from that. You know, as human beings, we have this kind of selfish thing. We want what we want. But when we have to be practical with the fact that whatever you are doing, something gets sacrificed for it.
You think it's a necessary sacrifice?
I wouldn't say, I wouldn't be able to say no. I think we will see in the future if this sacrifice was worth it, because that will depend on what we do with the facility that we have. Because, you know, some people will say it will stay here and then it will come like the Center of Excellence or something like that, you know. But we don't know. So to jump forward and say it will, I think that would be damming a bridge before it crosses. What we have to do, I think, is monitor, see how it works, and then we could probably make our outright statement and say, we know it couldn't, but I mean for now, can we really say that something wouldn't work? When we walk around the facility, we see the potential. And probably if you find somebody who has the business acumen, they may be able to make this into the dream that David John Williams envisioned in his mind. So it's really getting the right people in the right place to do what is right with the facility, and then we would be able to see what the potential of this would be. But outside of doing that, it will all be speculation. I don't like to speculate on.
Well, you know, just before we wrap, though, I must ask as well, is it a bit bittersweet knowing that this facility is being opened just 1 week before the Federation election comes around?
Well, you know what? I always tell people, there's one thing I'm glad about. I cannot vote. I have no vote. So because I am unable to vote, I try very much to stay away from the football politics.
But now, particularly, that must place you in a very unique position. What would you say to both sides of the fence now, knowing that you're unable to vote, but you're able to appreciate the perspective of Trinidad and Tobago football moving forward?
What I will say to everyone involved in the football and in what I'm seeing is that I want to put it over so people don't get me wrong. We have to understand that all that we do is for football. It must not be for self-serving or personal interest. This is why I say when I sit on the board of directors of the TTFA, I sit for football, not just the pro league. I represent the pro league, but I represent football, and I will do what is always in the best interest of football. And I have no problem with anybody wanting to become the next president or whatnot. But all I will say to everyone is that we continue to let football have the respect that it has. For the last few months, you know, we have seen certain things that in my 17 years, I'm not accustomed to in terms of football. You know, this is the worst I've seen it in all my years. But I'll say to everyone, everybody wants that opportunity to lead, because as everybody feel they could do it better than the other one, I have no problem with that.
How do we move forward?
I say we let the democratic process take place. If people feel they want new leaders, they do that. If they are comfortable with the leader they have, they remain with the leader that they have or they want. But you would have to choose what you want. Is it that we would want a building at the sacrifice of football? But it's here already. So we can't do anything about that. So now what do? We just move forward. And now the next step is build football. So we build this, and we're glad it's here. So now we build football. And this may be the asset to help do so. But I'm hoping that going forward, football is
the winner. Thank you very much. Of course, this is Julia Batiste, TTFF board member and CEO of the Trinidad and Tobago Professional Football League. It is hot. We're going to take a short pause and come back. Hopefully, we will have a word with either FIFA President Gianni Infantino or Prime Minister of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, Dr. Keith Rowley.
Mr. Trinidad, tell me what scene you on. Do you just like political confusion? You criticizing the way you live, yet you can't produce an alternative. You say you against the power structure. You ain't like the opposition either. But take care, you jump out the hot water and end up in the center of the fire. Because you refuse to vote in election. But then you want revolution. You're strongly against communism. You walk out on colonialism. You say Rick William had to go. But who to replace him? You ain't know. So to make a long story short from in front, Trinidadians ain't really know what they want. My friend, if you don't want democracy, the opposite is guerrilla activity. If you don't want democratic improvement, you have to want a revolutionist government. And yet when Guy Harewood went in the hills with Jennifer Jones, you let them get killed. All you're doing is grinning and skylarking. You come like the ass in the lion's skin. Because you say Robinson is a traitor. You say what's than that about Granger. You say Kamal seeking his own interest. You call Millet a Marxist Leninist. You are ODAC, neither DLP. And you say DNM is only Ratchety. Well, you tying up yourself. I gonna tell you why. Trinidadians just like plenty mama guy. Afro-Trinidadian talking black power. It's not wrong for a man to love his culture. Yes, you walk around with your Afro plaits and you're dragging alpagat and fat sapat. But although they're rapping about Africa, you're eating roti like if you're born in India. So who you gonna blame when you make your book and end up like a cat on a hunting room? Because you say you're going Afro all the way. Let you smile when they bring in Tony May. William say he want to retire. You beg him to stay a little longer. You reject Carl's act on public order. Now you want the same Carl for prime minister. Like your sense of reasoning goes and comes. It won't surprise me if you call back Albert Gumbs. You say that you didn't want.
Well, we're still here at the opening of the former football here in Couva, and my name is James Saunders, of course, bringing you all of the details here. Just to recap what took place earlier on today before I introduce my guest, we've got with us the president of FIFA, Gianni Infantino. He's currently on a tour together with CONCACAF President Victor Montagliani, TTFA President David John Williams, and of course the Prime Minister of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, Dr. Keith Rowley, and Minister of Sport, Chamfa Kajou. With me, I've got a former government minister, and today in the capacity of TTFF board member, Mr. Colin Partap, and it must be a very warm occasion for you today, celebrating this opening.
Yes, it is, and I must say I'm very pleased to be part of the opening of the Homer Football here today.
Now, walk me through what is, well, from a TTFF's perspective, what is a vision of this facility that we're standing in front of today?
Well, the vision is this is going to be the premier facility for young people and for the national team. When there's games, young people could come, they will use the facility, use the training facility, and of course there's a stadium for games. So it's part of the developmental plan of the TTFA for both the short-term and long-term future.
Well, speaking of short-term and long-term future, the Prime Minister is here today, and he openly, acknowledged his support for the facility. You've been in government, and you're also involved in sport. How important do you think that partnership between government and private sector is to ensure that sport moves forward?
Well, the government and private partnership, it's critical because governments now and in the future will not have money to totally invest in sport, and you will need private partnership. And you heard the president of FIFA said that they came and they fully funded the project. And it's these type of projects that are critical to the development of sport in Trinidad and Tobago. And I'm glad this government has done it. I saw it fit to give the land as part of their part, and FIFA doing the funding as part of their part.
What is the TTFF's short and long-term plans as a board member for the use of this facility?
Well, the short term, we will have it as an income generating, and also that's part of the long-term goals also. But it's a home for footballers, for the young people, for the national team, and I think that's the direction in which they're going. And of course, we are centered with the velodrome, the aquatic center, you have the Brian Lara, so it's a sporting hub. And this is part of the genesis of what sports should be. Everything located around a particular area. And of course, you would have, we have our detractors to the home of football, but as you can see, the facility is great, and it will be soon an income generating part for the TTFA.
Well, speaking of detractors, one concern of some detractors has been the income generating aspect of it. Many people have said, they're not sure how this facility will be able to generate income. I hope I'm not asking too much or to give away too much, but could you name, perhaps one idea the TTFA or the TFF has to raise income?
Well, income generation is a hotel. And remember, we have the Commonwealth Games coming up, the Junior Commonwealth Games in 2021. And it's going to be in the vicinity of the velodrome, aquatic center, and the football stadium, and the cricket stadium. So, of course, it will be utilized. So that's one stream, income from the hotel. So that's one area we're looking at.
Well, Mr. Partap, it's a moment to celebrate, and I'm sure you've got some friends that'll run along and celebrate with. Thank you so much for your time, though.
Very much.
Former TTFA, or former government minister and TTFA board member, Mr. Colin Partap. We take a pause, and in fact, just before we take a pause, let me just highlight some of the folks that we've got here with us today. As we take a step, we've got the Honorable Prime Minister of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, and he is here with us together with Bertil Sinclair, who is the most successful Trinidad and Tobago coach at the Gold Cup level, of course, getting Trinidad and Tobago to a Gold Cup semi-final. And we've also got Esmond Ford, as well as the FIFA president, Mr. Gianni Infantino, with us. But we've got the Prime Minister of the Republic of Trinidad and Mr. Prime Minister. We're just sharing some pleasantries with different members of the committee. And Mr. Prime Minister, I'm sorry to interrupt. Of course, we're live here on CCN TV6. You're here supporting the home of football today.
Capacity as an outstanding footballer of some note.
That's exactly what I was about to say. but you're here supporting this initiative. Tell me about the government's interest in supporting.
Well, there's a significant input here in a partnership with football. The TTFA and the government came together under the encouragement of President Infantino here, because without the FIFA funding, it wasn't going to go anywhere. The taxpayers' asset, which was the land, was put in, and the TTFA undertook the project, and it was the commitment for the funding was there and was delivered, and it came to this because the project was executed. And I must say, I want to congratulate President David John Williams and his team for moving it from talk to substance. And today he can advertise Trinidad and Tobago as a location for games, for tournaments, for training, and for whatever football has to offer. We are now talking seriously about sport tourism.
Well, we're speaking about sport tourism. Of course, many people have talked the talk, but they haven't quite walked the walk. What did you say to other sporting bodies who hope to perhaps emulate this sort of partnership?
At this stage, I would say make use of the facilities. if you look around, you see there's a lot of investment around here and elsewhere in the country where we have spent a lot of money on structures. We need to make better use of those facilities, and once we put them to use, everything will flow from that.
Thank you very much, Mr. Prime Minister. Of course, we've got the FIFA president as well. I just want to sneak in a quick word with you. The government of Trinidad and Tobago has partnered, to help this facility grow. Of course, we've got the TTFF president, Mr. David John Williams. What is FIFA's feeling about what's happening here today?
Today it's a great feeling of pride, of happiness. I mean, it's incredible what has been done here. I can only thank the Prime Minister. I can thank only David, John Williams, and the whole football community in Trinidad and Tobago for this incredible work. I knew that in Trinidad and Tobago you can run fast. I didn't know you can build that fast, but it's fantastic. It's incredible, state of the art, and now we have to make it live. And this will be the next challenge. And I mean, we are ready together to make this really a pride for the whole country.
In terms of FIFA's holistic plan for development within the CONCACAF region, how does this fit in with your plan?
Well, this fits in perfectly with our plans because we want to develop football competitions, environment, structure. I mean, in particular, in this region, in the Caribbean, in Trinidad and Tobago, you have great skills, you have great natural talent. What we need is the infrastructure and the structure. This is now here. So now, I mean, as the Prime Minister was saying earlier, there is no excuse anymore. You can only become world champion.
And well, we love the fact of becoming world champions. Any advice just before we wrap this up for Trinidad and Tobago in terms of moving forward?
Well, just work hard, work with passion, work with heart, develop this. The whole community, not only the football community, the whole sports community, the whole community generally in the islands has an interest to make these facilities live and breathe, and everyone will be proud of it.
Well, thank you very much. I know you guys must be very busy, and I've taken up enough of your time. They will head to the...
I just want you to have a quick word on the most influential station, I-95, because they have supported us before you go to the front.
They are the competitors here, huh?
No, they are both.
So they are just going to make their way, of course, with our sister station, I-95.5 FM, of course, as we bring you all of the opening day action here at the home of football in Balmain, Couva. Just to recap, this is a 72-room facility that will function as a board for national teams and other sporting organizations in Trinidad and Tobago. Well, that brings us to the end of our coverage here on CCN TV6. On behalf of the entire crew, my name is James Saunders, and we will see you again later.